about it today. The wealth placements, in astrology, we can pinpoint a lot of things about what is energetically destined to come to us, or at best, what we can put our energy into to produce in our life. And wealth is one of those things. And when I say wealth placements, we're going to be talking about the placements in astrology that I notice that certain people can utilize in order to grow. You may not be, one of the Rockefellers, or you may not be the next Jeff Bezos or whatever, but you can amass a pretty sizable amount of money for yourself. And I think what happens is, for me, astrology is a tool that assists you in taking you to the higher level. We're all born with placements, and it just depends on what you use them for. Some people don't believe in astrology, and they leave all of this dormant, and they could have possibly missed the opportunity to work with this supportive energy with regards to whatever it is going on in their life. So wealth is a big deal for me. I am energetically manifesting something, and I've been manifesting it on a serious note for the last year, maybe year and a half, to come into my life around wealth. So I want to share this information with everyone. This is why it's good for you to get a printout of your birth chart. Now, the best way to do that and get this information would be to have a reading with me. So you can go to my website, www.melaningoddesslife.biz, schedule a reading with me, and we can talk about your astrology. Or you can go to one of the free birth chart calculator sites. Just put in free birth chart calculator. You can put in free natal chart calculator, enter your birth date, your place of birth, and most importantly, your time of birth, and it will pull up your natal chart. Okay? And that will give you a snapshot of where all your placements were at the time of your birth, because that's what we're going to be focusing on. I also pulled up 3 examples of notable people that we know that are billionaires, and I'm going to use them as examples with regards to some of these placements. Now, astrology is a science. It's a spiritual art. There's a lot that goes into really determining what your wealth potential is. So today we're just going to do some general placements, but there's a lot more that goes into the calculating of how this could work in someone's life. But I thought it was a fascinating subject. And I always get excited when I do readings for my clients and I see certain placements with regards to money. And I'm always curious as to, what is their perception around money? Before we talk about their placements, I always want to know, what is their perception around money? What is the relationship that they have with money? Now, and we're also going to talk about the relationship you have, because none of this works unless you have a healthy relationship with money. I did not discover that until years later. That I'm one of these people that have very positive aspects when it comes to wealth building. However, my relationship with money was so poor, and it was so bad, and my mindset around money, it canceled out any of the support that I have energetically. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to get aligned with, and you have to have a healthy relationship with money. And we'll talk about a little bit of that, because that's the most important key. Even if you don't have any of these placements, your relationship with money is going to determine how you maneuver with regards to money and material possessions, and how you handle it. You have to have a healthy dynamic with it. And I had one of the worst. And we'll talk about that later if we get to it. So, does anyone have in astrology? This is just what I do. Astrology can tell you a lot of things. And one of the things it can tell you is, number one, your career path. It can tell you how you earn your money, what the best profession is for you, what your potential, pitfalls could be around money. But it can also tell you whether or not you're one of those people that could possibly amass. Exactly, we both live near an airport. That's crazy. But it can also tell you whether or not you're one of those people that could possibly amass great amount of wealth or money for yourself. And there are certain, well, I wouldn't say certain, there are a lot of aspects that play a part into when an astrologer is looking at someone's birth chart, determining, if this person could come into wealth and how they could come into wealth. I've picked out a few placements that I use as just kind of, what's the word I want to use? I guess a guide to finding out whether or not a person could come into mass wealth or do pretty well for themselves financially. So first of all, let's identify the money houses in astrology. Now, you can take notes if you want, but there's three money houses that we look at when we are trying to determine the wealth potential for someone. We look at the first, the second house. So I'm gonna say me. I look at the second house. The second house is the house of your earned income. This is how you earn your money. Okay. This is also the house of your material possessions, your self-worth and value, particularly what you put value on as to how it relates to yourself. This is where I was talking about. This is where the relationship with money is born, in my opinion. And this is where I'm speaking of from the perspective of how, what depending on the aspects going on there, are going to determine how you see money and what kind of relationship you have with it is in the second house. But primarily, this is your job. This is how you earn money. This is your material possessions. This is your investments, your stock market, things that you invest in. Okay, so that's the first one. The second money house that I look at is the 8th house. So that is right directly the opposite house of the second. So if the second house is your personal earned income, the 8th house is other people's resources. So in the 8th house, we look at number one, the gains and benefits that you get from another person, or through a business transaction, or anywhere that you get wealth, gains, money from any other entity outside of the energy that you put into your own efforts of work. So for the 8th house, we look at this more as gains and benefits, resources through your spouse, gains and benefits, resources through your family, through business. Is another one. Through financial institutions, through investments. This is another investment house. So this is anything that you get from another person. This is also the place of inheritances. And we're going to talk about inheritances because that's an important one here. Taxes, child support, settlements. So again, anything that's a financial resources that you get outside of your own efforts of work, this is where it's going to come through to you. Again, it could come through another person. So it could come through your connection with your spouse. So this is your spouse's gains and resources. This is family gains and resources, because remember, inheritance is here. So the 8th house is another house that I look at when I want to determine how a person could come into wealth by no effort of their own. The next house that I look at is the 11th house. Now, the 11th house, some people don't consider it a money house, but I do. And the reason I do it is because this is the house of gains. So this is the things that we gain. This is also the area that governs long-term goals, dreams, and wishes. And unexpected money is in this house. This is also the house that governs our friends and our associates and organizations. So when I look at the 11th house from the perspective of money, I look at it from the perspective of this is the house where other people help you accumulate things through an organization, through a friend group, unexpected money or unexpected resources or gains that just come your way. This is also the area that governs the collective and the masses. This is where a lot of people, like your social media people that have gained fame or money or businesses through social media, are in this house. And I'm going to give you an example of someone that is a prime example of this. And I wish I had her birth information. However, I will tell you this. You will find a lot of Aquarians, whether it's Aquarian sun, moon, or rising people, or they have a lot of Aquarian placements. These, because they're ruled by the 11th house that we're talking about, these are the people that become overnight successes through social media. Two prime examples of this are Super Scent. She was a social media influencer, and she turned her social media presence into a makeup empire. She's actually been just highlighted in Forbes magazine. She took that whole social media presence that she had. She just started as someone that would get on social media and tell stories. She ended up doing a makeup tutorial. She was just doing a makeup tutorial, and she got so frustrated with it, she decided that she was going to come out with her own makeup line. In about less than, probably, I'm going to say about 2 years, she grew that makeup line. The girl is a multimillionaire. She's actually been in Forbes magazine just recently, and I think she has amassed, her wealth number was $50 million. She's worth $50 million. But she gained that through social media. But she also gained it through a friend, because she was also friends with the girl that does the... damn it, and I got some of those drops in there. Miracle Drops. Judy. Her and Judy were friends, and Judy was the first one. She was also on social media, and Judy started her empire through doing hair, and her and Super were friends, and Judy mentored Super and got her to where she was. So this is when we look at the 11th house again. Friends and associations come here. So you had two people, gain their popularity through social media, built this empire, and then you have the relationship of one friend helping another. And then also, if you watch how Super does business, she assists a lot with her friends. She's put a lot of her friends in business, and they've gone on to be very, very successful. So that's how the 11th house works when you're amassing wealth. Those of you that do social media, especially if you got a lot of Aquarian energy, you really need to be pushing that social media. That is your forte. That is your place. This is where you can do that, okay? Just a little tidbit. So if you got a lot of Aquarian energy going on, you could be an overnight success through social media. I'm just saying. Okay. So do we have any questions so far? As you know, the houses, the 2nd, the 8th, and the 11th, which is, now, let me just say this. Somebody else, some other astrologer could have a different opinion on it. Okay. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Social media is your thing, Boss Lady B. I don't know why you're not pushing it like more than you are. Now, some other astrologer may have a different opinion than me. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. This is just how I interpret it. So you may hear it differently down the line. That's fine. I'm one of those that's always learning stuff too, so whatever. Okay, so I consider the 2nd, the 8th, and the 11th house your money houses. So let's talk about the planets and how they work with regards to wealth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 planets that I consider wealth planets. Okay. I have 4 primary that I know just across the board are your wealth planets, and then I have 3 more that I'm going to explain why I chose those 3, and what they do. So the first wealth planet that comes to mind for me is obviously Jupiter. Jupiter is one of the 2 what we consider benefic planets in astrology. Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system. So Jupiter represents growth, abundance. It is a wealth planet. It represents wealth, expansion, opportunity, and blessing. So everything about Jupiter is to do it big. When Jupiter goes into a house, or when Jupiter is in a person's natal chart in a particular house, that is the house that they have the biggest blessing. They have the biggest growth and opportunity and expansion. This is the area of their life that comes very, very easy, okay? But it garners them the biggest opportunities. But we also consider Jupiter, again, a wealth planet because it brings blessings and resources, all right? The second planet that I look for is Venus. Now, Venus is the second benefic planet, but it's the smaller planet. Jupiter's the biggest, Venus is the smallest. Now, Venus represents money and material possessions. So this is our money, and the things that we like to buy. So with Venus is more of an attracting energy. So when Venus is placed in a house, now Jupiter's going to want you to do some work for it, okay? But what I consider Jupiter sets up the opportunity. Jupiter brings you the opportunity, but it wants you to do the work. Venus is a little bit different. Venus is how we attract things. There's not much work that you have to do with Venus. So depending on where your Venus is placed in your natal chart, this is going to identify the area that things just gravitate towards you. See, once you learn your birth chart, you learn how to work it. You learn how to work it. So Venus is that attraction energy. So you don't have to do much with Venus because things are attracted to you and they just come to you. So we love to have Venus in one of these three money houses because that means what? Money is just going to be attracted to us. Opportunity is going to be just attracted to us. Material possessions just come to. For me, example, I have Venus in my 10th house of career. Career is easy for me. That's one of the areas that I've never had an issue with. Finding a job. So let me tell you something. Venus is so good to me in my 10th house is I've had jobs that I shouldn't have because I was not qualified for. But because I have and I'm not bragging or anything, but because I've learned what my Venus is for, I learned that people are just going to naturally be in my favor when it comes to work and career and me working with people. So that is how you learn how to, where you're going to put your effort and where you're just going to let things happen. So Venus is that attracting energy. So you don't have to do much. It just brings things to you. The third one is Pluto. Now, Pluto is a little bit different. Pluto is a wealth planet. Number one, it is a wealth planet. Okay, and I didn't say rich. I said wealth. And there's a difference. So Pluto is a wealth planet. But Pluto, the energy of Pluto is transformative. So when I look at Pluto in one of these money houses, I look at it as something huge happens by way of Pluto represents, I'm going to just give it to you simple, a rags to riches type story. Like one day you homeless and the next thing you buy a lottery ticket and you go from being about to get evicted, bills, this, that, and the other, and you go in and you buy a lottery ticket, and next thing you know, you hit the jackpot and you're a multimillionaire. Pluto is a rags to riches type, and what that happens is that transforms your life entirely. So Pluto is very, very dynamic, and again, depending on where Pluto is, and this has, and this could be in any area of your life, this is where you're going to have the biggest transformation in your life. Now, the final one that I look at as a money planet is Neptune. Okay. Now, Neptune's a little tricky, and the reason why I consider it a wealth planet is because I'm a big manifester. Neptune is the planet of manifestation. So this is where you're going to manifest money. Okay, so you're going to use Neptune because Neptune is a planet of fantasy, of dreams, of magic, of manifestation. Now, you have to be cautious with Neptune also because Neptune can sometimes be a little bit delusional and you don't see things clearly. So you always have to stay very, very grounded when you're dealing with Neptunian energy and seeing the situation as it is and not for what you wanted. But Neptune is what you would use to manifest money. So if you have Neptune in one of these three houses, you need to be manifesting money depending on the house that it is in. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are my 4 primary, and then I have 3 secondary. So does anyone have questions about the wealth planets, the money planets, and why I chose them as your wealth planet? Or anyone have any input on it or experiences with okay, I guess I keep going. Okay, so now let's talk about the 3 secondary. Now, these 3 planets, I don't necessarily consider them wealth planets. But I chose them because they're going to represent how the money could come or what you're going to have to do to get the money. Okay, all right. So the next one we're going to talk about is, again, my secondaries. The first one is Mars. Now, I don't consider Mars a money planet, but Mars is going to demonstrate how you're going, what your drive is going to be. Mars is all about drive. It's all about getting things done. It is the physical planet. It's also the planet of entrepreneurship. So for me, when I look at Mars, this represents how much passion you're going to put behind getting this money or elevating yourself to the next degree with regards to money. How much effort and energy you're going to use to get what you want. As a side note, Mars is the entrepreneur of the zodiac. So Mars in any of these money houses could represent someone that goes into business for themselves. Okay. The second one is Saturn. Now, with Saturn is the planet of delay and restriction. So when I look at Saturn more for, this is the energy around the long game. The wealth may not come immediately. You have to be prepared to do the work over an extended period of time, but the reward will come later. So Saturn is all about, are you willing to just do the work and wait for the payout? Did I explain that right? Saturn is all about the long game. And Saturn is also about doing the steps. You can't skip steps with Saturn. You have to do it in an order. Okay? If I didn't explain that right, let me know. The third one is Uranus. Now, Uranus is a wild card, because Uranus is a planet of unpredictability and unexpected change. Uranus can go either way. Uranus could turn out to be like you have it in the second house, and unexpected opportunities come to you. Uranus is also representative of highs and lows highs and lows when it comes to money. If we're looking at it from a money sense, extreme highs, y'all riding high with the money, everything's going good, and then all of a sudden you hit a bump, and now we're at an extreme low. So we have to look at Uranus as more or less expect the unexpected. Okay, expect the unexpected. It could be all good or it could be all bad, but just kind of like expect the unexpected. All right, so those are the planets that I consider your money planets, your wealth planets, and how they work. Okay, so we have Jupiter, Pluto, Venus, Neptune are my primary choices. Again, somebody else may have another choice. And then secondary, Mars, Saturn, and Uranus are going to represent how you're going to go about getting this money. Okay? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about how they show up in these houses in particular. And I have some examples. So we're going to be using Donald Trump. I know y'all don't like him, but he's a great example. Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey, and Bill Gates. And when I chose them, of course I chose them because, you know, they've amassed great wealth. And when I looked at their charts together, most of them have the same placements with regards to money. And it's just really, really crazy. So, does anyone, let's talk. Maybe I should pull this up and see how I want to do this. Let's talk about Jupiter. Okay, let's talk about the relationship, because we need to really, that's very, very important. Okay, so you remember when I talked about the second house being the relationship you have with money, or how you view money. I don't care if you have every placement there is that points you to money. I don't care if you have it. If your relationship and your dynamic with money is not healthy, it does not matter. It cancels all of that out. And I'm going to use my own chart. I wish I knew how to do the thing where you put your chart up. So I'm going to use my own chart and my own testimony on how I know this to be true. So for me, I have in my second house, I have the moon in my birth chart in the second house. I have Pluto. I have Jupiter. And I have Uranus. I'm supposed to be a fucking billionaire. Simple as that. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. And I know it's gonna happen, so that's not even something I'm worried about. But I do believe I delayed it in some way. Yeah, I even have a south node there. So I got a whole stellium going on in the second house. But I do believe that I delayed it. And let me tell you why I believe I delayed it. I believe I delayed it because for years I had a very, very unhealthy relationship with how I viewed money. My mindset was always in a place of lack. I was always in a place of being anxious about money that I didn't have or did have. When I did come into money, I would hold on to it. You have to understand that the spiritual component and the principle of money is you have to release it. You have to release it in order for it to flow back. Money is fluid. It flows in and out. You cannot hold on to it. You cannot hoard it. You can't sit on it. You have to release it. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't put stuff away from a rainy day. That's not what I'm saying. Don't take it the wrong way. But you cannot have this mindset of having fear over money. And for years, I was very fearful of not having enough. And I was fearful of releasing money. I didn't know what I was going to do. But the thing that would happen with me would be, I would get into these situations, these financial situations where I was just like in a crisis. And that is that Uranus in my second house. Remember we talked about Uranus, extreme highs and lows. So I would get in this extreme crisis of money. And I would get into a panic. And I would try to and I would worry and I would worry. But because I had Jupiter there, Jupiter would always rescue me. Jupiter would always come in and save me in the nick of time. Okay? But I still didn't get it. Something would always show up. Someone would always show up. Most of the time, it would be more or less, I would come up with an idea or a concept on how to get myself out of the financial situation. So mine would always basically either come from someone, or I would come up with the idea, or I was clear enough to figure out how to get out of this. But Jupiter would always come in and save me. Always. But I never really put the correlation together on why this kept happening. Again, extreme highs and lows with my money would happen. But I also have to look at, I had the moon there. And the moon is the representative of our emotions and how we internalize things. And I would let money govern my emotions. Another unhealthy dynamic. I would let money just tap dance on my emotions. So it would have me all over the place. And then I had Pluto there. And Pluto can be an unhealthy placement also, because Pluto is the planet of control and abuse. And I had an abusive relationship with money. I would use money to try to control people. I still have a problem with that, because I feel like if I pay you to do something, I control you in that way. So I had to finally get to the space of, girl, you got a fucked up mindset when it comes to money. And that's why your money is always all over the place. And that's why you will always be in this situation until you get a healthy respect for money. And so when I started to move myself out of that, when I started to stop letting my emotions be governed by money, when I started to just release money and actually trust the universe and start walking the walk instead of just talking that bullshit and not believing it, when I really, really got into it and understood the spiritual component of it, it changed my life. It changed my life. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I got it all the way together financially. Absolutely not. I'm not going to tell you that. However, it has changed me in a way that it's just different. There is no way that I would have been able to take off work for an entire year and purchase a home and a new car while still sitting at home and had all my bills paid. I made more money during the pandemic staying at home than I was at work. There is no way you can tell me that has nothing to do with my relationship changing with money and me really leaning into what was supporting me. So it has to, again, I say all that to say this. It doesn't matter how great your placements are in your natal chart. If your mindset and relationship is fucked up with money, it's just going to be fucked up with money. It ain't nothing you can do about it until you change it. So you have to first identify those problems that you have with money. I mean, you have to, and you have to get on a healthy path, and you have to get into a healthy relationship with money. Okay, so that's number one. So, for me, so you got all my placements. I got a whole stellium. When you have, I think it's 3 or more planets in a particular house, that's a stellium, and that is going to be a lot to where your energy is focused. So a lot of my energy is focused around money. I'm always talking about how to make money, how to do this, how to do that, and it's always money. So that is going to be a primary focus with me. Okay, so I got Jupiter there, which is a wealth planet. And let me tell you something else about Jupiter. One of the things that I learned about Jupiter is, and I found this to be true, and I'm going to give you 2 examples of it. Jupiter for a woman, okay. Jupiter represents a woman's husband or long-term committed partner in astrology. So wherever the Jupiter is placed in the natal chart, kind of tells you about who he's going to be, where you're going to meet him, how the relationship is going to be, yada, yada, yada. But when a woman has Jupiter in the 2nd house, and I've seen this in my clients, and I have it too, Jupiter, number 1, can represent 2 marriages, maybe more, but at least 2 marriages in your lifetime. That's the first thing. The second thing it represents is typically, usually the 2nd husband is very wealthy, or you come into great financial security through your husband. And this could look like the 2 of you go into business together, and it's a very successful business. This could also look like him just being someone that has a lot of money, or he's really good with money, or he provides you a really, really nice lifestyle for yourself. Or a third scenario could be you inherit money from him. Okay. So I've seen that. That's usually an indication of wealth through a spouse for a woman. Now, if for everybody else, let's say everybody else, somebody else has Jupiter, man or woman or whatever, has Jupiter in the second house. This again is a wealth placement, and this could look like someone that comes from a wealthy family. Comes from a family that's, does really well for themselves financially, or comes from gains through family ties. Okay, so you could, again, be born into a family that has great wealth or the potential for great wealth. Okay, so I love to see Jupiter in the second house because this is going to blow this house up. It gives you opportunity to earn a great deal of money. Now, we also have to look at how it's aspected. So just because your Jupiter's in the second house doesn't make, sometimes it's not aspected really well, but that's on a personal level, and you have to get a reading, you have to figure out, and you have to have an astrologer to look at it. But for the most part, Jupiter in the second house ain't bad. It really, really is not. So let's look at Pluto in the second house. So I got Pluto in the second house. Again, that's a transformative thing. This is your rags to riches type energy. Okay, now that's great and all, but Pluto will also set you up again to have an unhealthier dynamic with this placement. So you have to remember that you cannot control people with money with this placement, and it will try to kind of make you do that. I'm also give you a little side note. Pluto in the second house, this is great for sex workers. This is great for people that are in the sex industry. This is great for strippers. This is great for people that do porn. So if you are in a sex-related type enterprise, Pluto in the second house, you can make a lot of money from that. I don't judge. Make your money where you make your money. So I'm just giving you that. Okay. You find now. I will tell you this. Pluto in the second house can bring on money from illegal activity. It is what it is. Again, I don't judge. Get your money where you get your money. But you can definitely go from rags to riches with the Pluto in the second house. Uranus in the second house, it is what it is. Extreme highs, extreme lows. This is the unexpected millionaire. This is the unexpected billionaire. But this can be someone that can be a millionaire one day and be broke the next, or vice versa. This is also representative of Uranus in the second house. Someone doing their career path, what they do for a living is very, very different. Uranus actually is the planet of astrology, so you could be an astrologer like me. And it's also the planet of aviation. I'm a flight attendant, so these are going to be careers that are out of the norm, that people don't normally do, but you could make a lot of money from this, okay? And I'm not going to talk about the moon because that's going to govern all your emotions. So, and Venus. If you have Venus in the second house, you naturally attract money. I love Venus in the second house for business owners because this has customers that constantly gravitate to whatever product that you're putting out. So if you're a business owner, you have Venus in the second house, this is excellent for you. But Venus in the second house just gravitates you, and it more or less for me puts me in the mindset of it brings you opportunities to make money, because this second house is about earning your money. Okay, this is not about the money that drops in your lap. You got to go out there and you got to get it. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about the second house and those placements?